This is the Wealth Junkie Show. Brought to you by CEO Capital Partners, Brendan Dukeman and Will Harvey. Your hosts deliver the daily fix you're looking for with exciting wealth-building secrets and strategies for what's working today. Listen to real-life stories straight from the mouths of some of the hottest, most successful entrepreneurs and financial freedom seekers to fuel your success addiction.
Welcome back, Wealth Junkies. My name is Brandon Dukeman here with Will Harvey, and we've got an awesome show for you today. Again, before we get started, don't forget to join us on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/Wealth Junkies and to subscribe to our show so that you don't miss any of our awesome daily shows here. Again, I'm going to toss this right over to Will so we can get started. Will, who do we got on to the show today?
Yeah, thank you, Brandon. So today we have Jonathan Pritchard on, and he is a consultant that works with companies that do trade shows, and some other companies that he works with are BP, State Farm, United Airlines, and others as well. But those are the three that most people recognize, and he helps them connect with their people. He's in the experiential and hospitality world. And with that, Jonathan, why don't you give the listeners a little bit more about your background and how you got to where you are today?
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate being here.
Sure.
And to give your audience kind of context for why the hell should I listen to this guy? I founded a consulting company called the Hellstrom Group, which is an international kind of consulting firm that helps companies connect to their people. And that's a really nebulous idea, but basically anytime a group of people gather together for a live event, whether it's a conference or trade shows or anything, it's really valuable for the company to deliver their sales message, their marketing message, their intent in a high value way that their audience will resonate with. Mm-hmm. And the easiest way to do that is through a kick-ass party, right? Just a fun experience that the messaging is woven into the experience. So when people remember how much of a great time they had, they indelibly remember the brand that helped make it happen, which is super cool. And that is such a weird thing to do for a living. Mm-hmm. The way I got into that was I was 13 years old and I got paid $200 to do magic tricks at a local company's summer picnic.
That's a great gig.
All their employees were going to be there for a picnic, and I was the hired magician to do magic tricks at 13. I was like, wait a minute, I can get paid $200 to go just party with people? This is awesome. And that was the same summer that I learned how to juggle fire. I could hammer nails up my nose, eat fire. So basically, I've learned a whole bunch of carny skills and then learned to leverage what I know to the corporate world. So it all started when I was 13 and I never looked back. So I've always made a living off of being comfortable in front of a large group of people doing things that very few human beings on the planet can do, and then getting sponsorship from large corporations to pay me to do it. Right?
That's awesome.
So now,
when you were 13, did you think, man, I'm going to do this for a living and make a lot of money and be in front of huge groups? Or
well, it's just kind of one of those things of every single opportunity I've ever been faced with, I usually go, is this better than what I'm doing already? Mm-hmm. Right? What's the best context for me to explore my curiosity, explore my skills, develop my skill sets? Nothing is as good as helping companies with events.
Right.
It just happened to be the thing that I could make money doing. Right. If I would have been good at unicycle riding and got paid a lot of money for it, I guess I'd be doing that. Absolutely. So it's kind of like I just got positive reinforcement for doing this wacky stuff, and then over time have learned how to be better and better and more effective at the kind of hospitality angle of it. So most people understand what I do from the terms of, oh, you're in the hospitality industry. You're making guests feel comfortable and valued by the host who's throwing this event, which might be BP, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the most common shape that takes is at trade shows. A company is exhibiting, they're paying a lot of money to set up the booth, to outfit it, to have all the banners, to send their salespeople. And then what do? They just sit back and they go, well, the attendees of the trade show are going to come say hi to us anyway. So that's all we need to do is to show up.
Right.
And that
That's
kind of
the wrong answer.
that passive, relaxed, no effort approach, well, good luck. You're wasting your time. Companies that recognize, oh, we need an active strategy to engage attendees, connect with them, build an audience, then deliver our marketing message in a fun way that they'll remember so that we qualify more leads in fewer time. That's awesome. Well, that's what I do. So I set up, I take up 3 by 3 feet of their booth. And then as they're walking by, I put my skill set to use. Because when I was 13, I would go to the nearest kind of city, right? It was Asheville, North Carolina. Wasn't really like a huge city at the time, but I would go juggle on the sidewalk and build an audience of people that were walking to somewhere else to do something else. And then I could stop them in their tracks and they go, what is going on here? Build an audience of 20 people who weren't there to watch some kid juggle, right? So I would juggle, make them laugh, do a couple mind reading tricks, and then pass the hat and get party money for it.
That's fun.
Now, 20 something years later, I'm doing exactly that same process for companies. So now, instead of having a sales guy that could talk to 3 or 4 people an hour and qualify them and, okay, that was a really good conversation. I'll follow up with you after the show. Thank you so much, right?
Yeah, right.
So now you got 2 salespeople in the booth. So that's maybe 8 to 10 good leads an hour.
Wow.
With me, you stop people in their tracks, build a crowd of 20 people,
Yeah.
and then deliver the same message in a much more interesting way.
Absolutely. More
Right,
memorable,
now-
more entertaining.
Yeah. So now you're
Yeah.
pre-qualifying more leads, reducing your wasted time on the back end of not following up with garbage.
Right.
So now with me, they're getting 3 or 4 times as many leads per show by just having one extra person who knows how to do it, right?
That's
so
awesome.
that's kind of a shape that it takes when I say I help companies connect to their people. Right? So at conferences, as a keynote speaker, as an MC, it looks different, but it's all a function of exactly that same mission.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
do you have to educate these companies as to, what your skills are and how they can benefit the companies? Or are they kind of
Absolutely.
okay?
Yeah, they have no clue. They have no clue stuff like this exists.
Right.
So the fact I've been doing this for 20 years, it's still cutting edge experiential design.
Right.
Right? So
Yeah.
so the latest and greatest marketing gurus are just barely now catching up in language of calling it experiential design. Like, ooh, that sounds new and sexy. And we're like, yeah, traveling magicians have been doing this since before recorded history. Like,
Right.
catch up,
funny.
man. We got 10,000 years of experiential body of knowledge to pull from of what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
And now you think that this, latest research shows that people like experiences. You're like, well, no kidding.
Yeah.
Right?
No kidding, you dinosaur.
Right, exactly. So it's kind of like you could either listen to that marketing guy that just graduated college who doesn't have any actual background. Who's I've got this study that says people like things,
Right.
or you could have somebody who has been in front of live audiences of 5,000 people, been on America's Got Talent, who understands having the attention
like that
of an
show, by the
audience
way.
and what doing to it. I'm all right with it.
Yeah.
You were on America's Got Talent?
I was.
That's-
I went through, it was like 4 or 5 years ago now, but I made it through 4 or 5 rounds, made it in front of the judges, Howard Stern, Heidi Klum, Mel B, and Howie Mandel.
Awesome.
So I got 3 out of 4 yeses, made it on to the next round, but the producers don't let on as many people as get through. Right, so the judges let through
I
more
knew there were
people.
some loopholes.
Yeah,
to
it's showbiz, man. They
Yeah.
have a
right.
product to create, which is the most compelling television that you will watch.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily map with what actually happens on that stage.
Absolutely.
So one of my mentors said, look, anything that happens within the boundaries of your television set is a lie. There's not really a human being in your television set. Like,
Right.
at face value, it is fundamentally a lie. Even if it's a documentary, right? It's a lie. It's not real. It's light emitting from a panel, right?
Yeah, that's
so
a great point.
your mind tells you it's real, but it's all a fiction. Everything, in every way, shape, or form you could possibly frame it, it's all a lie. But that doesn't mean that it's not useful. It doesn't mean that it's not valuable or impactful. It's just that it's not the truth.
So how do you find the truth?
Experience, logic, and reason. That is the only tool that we have to discover empirical reality, because you don't see the world as it is. Your mind pre-filters everything that you're aware of, and what you're aware of is always a function of what you value.
I bet you're a good poker player. Poker's all about logic and not being emotional.
I'm actually, weirdly, I'm actually awful at poker.
Really?
Mainly because since I was a kid, I've been interested with playing cards and sleight of hand and that kind of thing. And people my whole life were like, "Oh, you must be really good at poker. I'm not going to play with you." So I've had nobody to play with to get good at it. Right. But then it's a double-edged sword. Okay, I lose, and then people go, "I thought you were some sort of world-class mind reader, Jonathan. Why are you so bad at poker if you're so good at reading people?"
That's hilarious.
Or I win, and then they go, "You cheated the whole time. You're a fucking mind reader, right? You stole my money. I want my money back." So playing poker is what we like to call a losing proposition.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So when you're at these trade shows for someone, you got a booth set up and you're doing your thing. What is an example of how you would engage people walking by and make them interested in whatever the hell the booth is about?
You can't be direct, right? You have to be to the point, but you can't be direct. And by that I mean, like, I grew up in the South, so those little dandelion puffballs, right? You pick them and then you blow them and then it ruins your lawn, right?
Yeah.
So if you try to catch one of those little wispy puffball seeds that are floating on the air, and you really just go for it, directly try to grab it, well, the pressure wave of air in front of your hand just pushes the wispy thing away, right?
Yeah.
So you can't grab at it because it'll just push it away. But if you put your hand where it's going to go anyway, it'll land there. So you have to put yourself in their way so that they'll land there, but you can't go too directly because it'll push them away, right? So you can't go, "Hey, did you see our newest widget?" Right? It's like, "No, I haven't, and I don't care." Right? So you have to talk to them about the most interesting thing in the world, which is themselves. And what do they want? Free stuff. So weirdly, one of the most effective things, I learned this from one of my mentors, one of the most effective things is really just spread a deck of cards out on the table. And then as they're walking by, they're wearing name badges. So you go, "Hey, Karen, how are you?" And it's because you can read their name.
Right.
So their name cuts through everything. You ever been in a party and it's really loud? You can't hear the other person that's talking to you because it's so loud. But then across the room, you hear somebody say Jonathan, and you're like, "Huh?"
Absolutely.
So your mind will hear your name. It will cut through everything. So when you use somebody's name, but not in that creepy robot way, like, "Hello, Will. How are you, Will? Good to see you, Will." Well,
Right.
I've been thinking about you, Will, right? So people hear this NLP stuff and then repeat it like they're a robot because they just don't understand human beings. But
Right.
if you use it judiciously, you're like, "Hey, Karen, my name's Jonathan. Did you get your free sample?" And they're like, "Free sample?
Yeah.
What are you giving away?"
Right.
Right? So saying free sample makes them think it's food or chocolate or something, because most companies are having giveaways or free tote bags or free what is it? Oh, thermos, like coffee
Yeah.
mug,
Right.
that a thing or an object. Then they usually say what that object is. Hey, did you get your free tote bag? I don't need another tote bag. I have a bunch of them, right?
Right.
But going to Costco on Saturdays, hell yeah, free sample.
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
in.
That was
Like,
my
what is
favorite
it?
part.
I'm
That was
I'm
my favorite.
hungry,
Yeah.
right? So you go, did you get your free sample? And they're like, ooh. So then two people walk up and you go, yeah, pick the right card, win $100. And they're like, I love this game. I love money, right? So you've already gotten their attention by using their name, offering something free, immediately transitioning that focus to the opportunity to win money. It's all a scam,
Huh.
just like the 3 shell game,
Right.
right? But what you're doing is you're managing their attention in a way that they're enjoying so that you can deliver the valuable information.
Okay. So how do you tie it all together? And
Yeah.
So,
How do you make
Right.
sales for my company if I have you
yeah.
at a booth?
So, for example, if you were to say that one of your defining characteristics at a company is your data-driven analytics, so that you can predict future return on investment, right? That's boring, right? Okay, that's real abstract. How in
I'm
the
falling
world are you
asleep right
going to
now.
deliver that message, right? Okay,
Right.
cool. All right, Brandon, you know what? Did you get your free sample?
No,
If you pick the
not
right
yet.
card, you win $100. Now, here's the deal though. If I can predict what you're going to do, despite your best efforts to thwart my expertise, you owe me $100. I won't hold it to you. I won't hold you to it. But here we go. Here we go. You're gonna have a free choice. But you know what? I'm going to write this down. Okay, I've folded it up. And you know what? Hey, Will, you look trustworthy. So, Will, would you hold on to this piece of paper? Now, don't let anybody else see it. Don't mess with it. Don't open it until I specifically ask you to. So, you just hang out there. Now, Brandon, you have a free choice. You could select any playing card that you want. So, go ahead and go for it. So, you take one out and show it to everybody. It's the 6 diamonds. Now, you could have chosen any card in the deck and you show that they're all different, right? So, you freely chose the 6 of diamonds. Now, here at Widget Co., we pride ourselves on being able to anticipate your needs and using analytics to drive our decision making. So we here at Widget Co. knew that you were going to select the 6 of diamonds, and to prove it, Will, would you open that piece of paper, show everybody what it says? And it says, Brandon will select the 6 of diamonds, right?
Oh, wow.
So now the moment of amazement happens right as I say Widget Co.
Mm-hmm.
So
Uh,
now that moment of, holy crap, how did Jonathan know that Brandon was going to be thinking of this? How did he know that that was what happens? And you go, exactly. The way that you're stunned, that's exactly what your clients are going to experience when you work with Widget Co. We're going to provide that same level of service and amazement and over-the-top delivery that will feel like magic. And
Wow.
now everybody's like,
Wow.
holy cow, Widget Co's badass. They are
Right.
so lucky to have Jonathan. That's really cool, right?
Very cool.
Wow, that's
And
crazy.
so
How
they,
big-
they use that experience to relate to the company and their experience with the company.
Exactly. So my area of expertise is weaving the sales and marketing message into those experiences that I know will create indelible memories in my audience as kind of the framework. It's kind of like a vaccine, man. I'm the vaccine, and what it is you're trying to inoculate is the message of my client, right? So you're just trying to inject that
Yeah,
indelibly into their mind so they can't forget it, and it works really
that's
well.
wild. I feel like that could work, picking girls up at a bar or a
Yes,
lot of things.
yes, it does. Yes, it does. I will say that yes. I've enjoyed my time touring the world.
That's hilarious.
Very cool. And
Yeah.
and so as you mentioned kind of before we started, the mind kind of sees what it wants to see and
Hmm.
understand what it only wants to understand. So obviously can you kind of go in depth about that a little bit and why you say that's what it is?
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things of everybody has reasons why they do things, but they don't actually understand why those are the reasons. And the reasons why you do things is it's all made up. You already have your decision made before you're aware of a decision is even on the table. You already know what it is you're going to do. You just reach for an excuse out of your bag of reasons and go, yeah, this one looks good. Let me use that one. And that's your reasoning. So you actually make your decisions in alignment with your current value system. And your value system is essentially a framework for your mind to filter out everything that isn't important. And it sounds reasonable when I say it with authority, but it actually is a thing that actually happens. So there's a demonstration I like doing that actually, full disclosure, I ran it on you both before the
Yep.
recording.
So we can't
So
cheat.
yeah, so they're not going to be able to do this, but I'm now talking to you out in podcast land. Really try this out. If you are driving right now, don't try this. Hit pause
Yeah, we do
until
not
you're,
endorse texting
yeah,
and driving or
yeah, do not,
distracted driving.
exactly. Uh, Pause it right now so that you can come back to this when you're in a quiet environment where you're not conducting heavy machinery. But if you are in a place where you could do this, here's the goal. Here's how it's going to work. Um, I need you to put your phone face down on your lap or the table in front of you so that you can't see what it is. Now, I want you to think about not the lock screen of your phone, but you've unlocked your phone and you're looking at your main home screen. On your home screen, there are icons, widgets, whatever it is. Now, you've probably already looked at your phone 100, 200 times already. You've seen this home screen a couple hundred times just today. So I want you to think of the icon that's in the upper left-hand corner and really lock it in your mind of what you know it is. Now, in just a moment, but not yet, in just a moment, here's what's going to happen. You're going to check. You're going to turn your phone over, light it up, unlock your phone, then check to see if you were right or wrong. Then you put the phone down. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. You're checking. Okay, you're now seeing that it's either right or wrong, and put the phone down. Perfect. Now, according to my experience, about 70% of people don't know that that was the icon in the upper left-hand corner. Only about 30% of people actually get that correct. But here's the real brain bender is all of you out in podcast land who just did that, whether you've got an iPhone or an Android phone, all saw exactly the same thing when you lit up your lock screen, which is what time it is. Do you know what time it is that you just saw on the lock screen? Now, if not, you're along with 99% of the human population.
Wow.
You saw it, you saw the time, but your mind was not aware of it because your non-conscious part of your mind only valued the icon. No other piece of information was relevant. Therefore, it never made it to your conscious awareness in the first place. So what it is that you value, right? I've put all the focus, all the value on that icon and knowing what it is or not, so that it oriented your entire experience to allow only that way of it playing out.
So you basically just ignored all the other information that was thrown at you in the time that you flipped your phone over to checking out that one icon. I mean, you have like
Exactly.
10 other icons
Exactly.
on the front screen, and you chose to look at just that one.
Right. Right. So we think that our senses are there to tell us what the world is, but our senses are actually there to filter out most of how the world is. And the only things you're aware of are the things you value. So if you value problems and obstacles and difficulty, well, then that's what you're going to see,
Mm.
right? You can only experience what you value. So the experiences in life that you have are an expression of the values you're looking for. And I mean that in a literal way, not some metaphorical Deepak Chopra way. It's provably true that that's how your mind works.
So, for a listener who's, let's say early 20s and really trying to get that entrepreneur itch, like we said, and really trying to get to the point where they think, they're successful. How do you change the values, and how do you focus the values towards, better thinking, or where you can absorb more?
Yeah, kind of
Or out
apply
the
what
world.
what you know to
Mhm.
that situation.
Right. It's very difficult to think outside of your own framework, right? So that framework of values is what the box is. So when people say, we need to think outside the box, if they can't explain what I just explained, they don't understand what the box is,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know what thinking outside the box means. Now, we are human beings. We only understand things in reference to what we already understand, right? Oh, we're in Chicago, so of course sirens are going off. So we only can relate to experiences as they are connected to what we already understand. So that's the framework. You
Mm.
can never think outside that framework. What you can do is crawl into somebody else's box, right? So you can never understand anything out of context.
Mm-hmm.
It is only in relationship to what you already know. So be really, really careful whose advice you take. Because the instant you accept somebody's advice, you are now building their box and you will get
Oh,
their results.
that is
So,
so good.
yeah, so only take advice from people who are living a life or running a business in a way that you would be happy swapping places with.
Yeah,
Because the instant you start implementing their solutions, you're also building in their problems that those solutions create,
absolutely.
Yeah,
right?
so when your friend is saying, "Oh, dude, I don't think it's a good idea for you to leave your job and start your business," or "I don't think it's a good idea for you to take that leap of faith," whatever it may be, but meanwhile they're not anything doing anything special or out of the ordinary.
Right. You
Right.
wouldn't swap boxes with them.
Right. So
Exactly.
why do people
Exactly.
listen to them? Is that
Right.
yeah. That's
Right.
that's really, really good.
It
Wow.
is.
Yeah. That's,
So it's really important. I mean, because as entrepreneurs and business owners and mavericks, it's kind of in the DNA to go it alone, right? Be like,
Right.
forget this company. It takes forever to do anything. I have no control over my time or decision making. Nothing works, so I'm out. So you get so hell bent on doing it by yourself that you aren't able to leverage the amazing skill sets of other people who could
Mm,
compound your effectiveness. So don't try to do it all on your own and have the, well, nobody can teach me anything attitude. It's that everybody can teach you something.
yeah.
It's just that most people are going to teach you what not to do.
Right.
You just need to find that one person who's already doing what it is that you want to do and then learn from them what to do. So know what to run away from, which is almost everybody.
Yeah.
right.
Know what to run towards, which is very few, but make yourself valuable to them. And that person, mentor, whatever, will help you see through those challenges and beliefs that you think are reality, but are actually just your filter of experience. So allow that person to destroy those limits and install new ways of thinking.
Yeah, that's really good. I remember a few years ago, I was it's when I was newer into the mortgage business, and I thought I was doing pretty well. I actually exceeded the goal that I wanted to hit, and was making decent money for what I thought. And then I sat down with someone and they were just telling me about when they got started and how they just basically exponentially grew, and it just completely shattered the box that I had, and the ceiling that I kind of put on myself, and it allowed me to break through that. So that's yeah, it's such a good thing for people to learn and recognize and do.
Right, because that's kind of it. Like a company, when they're designing their trade show in booth strategy, what does everybody else do? Send some salespeople that hand out flyers. They
Right.
literally can't imagine a thing like me.
Right.
It is literally beyond their imagination. So it is my job to carefully break their minds, show them what is actually possible, that it's not only possible, but relatively simple for me to do for you,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Because first they're like, well, that's not possible. I'm like, son, don't interrupt the person that's doing it, right? So let me do this with you. And they go, I don't know. We're a respectable company. Yeah, the United States Postal Office has in-booth demos and
Right.
interactive experiences. So you think you're more respectable than the post office? Tell me more
Right.
about why you're wrong, right? So it's really a game of breaking down the barriers. So that's kind of a cold sell. But really the most effective way that I get my work is being at a trade show, and then all the other booths around my client's booth being upset that
Yeah.
they're not getting any traffic, and that stupid company and their
They look
idiot
bad.
presenter, they're
Right.
stealing all the traffic. And I'm like, don't be mad at
Mm.
the booth that has all the traffic.
Right.
Be the booth that has
Absolutely.
all the
Figure out
traffic.
how. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all sneaky style, the trade show managers will come up and like give you their card. And we're like, hey, we're doing
That's
a
funny.
show in like 4 months. Could you help us out? I'm like, yeah, we'll talk. We'll
Yeah,
talk.
yeah, we'll talk. That's hilarious.
That's awesome,
Yep.
Jonathan. That's a great message. I think that I'm sure we could go on for probably a few days about all
Yeah.
the strategies and stuff, but
Yep.
we're gonna hop into our moments of truth segment here.
Deal.
Same 7 questions we ask everybody, and I'm just gonna get right at it here. Who
All
is
right,
your
I'm coming in
success-
fresh.
Who is your success role model?
Ooh, my success role model. It's one of my friends, Danny Orleans. He's the guy that kind of showed me the world of trade shows and leveraging mentalism and magic as a sales delivery tool. It's kind of like what I'd already been doing, but then him showing me this whole world of trade shows. I was like, holy crap, this is the best way for me to leverage my skill set for the biggest companies for the biggest impact possible. So that's why that kind of became a big part of what I did. And Danny is one of the people directly responsible for helping me get started in that.
Awesome. And like I
Very
said,
cool.
it's important to have that person to show you the right things to do.
Hmm.
Yep. What's your
Yeah.
biggest success?
My biggest success is having a lot of control over my time, where I spend it, and who I spend it with.
Nice.
To me, that is the definition of success. Right? So to me, success
agree.
isn't having a lot of money. Like not worrying about things is nice. Beyond that level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, having control of how you spend your time is the most valuable form of control that you could have.
And can you accredit your business and your skill set to having that freedom?
Yep, it
Yeah.
is. It is the most effective way that I've discovered to transmute my time into value.
Awesome.
That's very cool.
So kind of going in line with that, what's a typical day for you look like?
Ooh, typical day is wake up at 7 a.m. I do Kung Fu. That's my daily
Nice.
physical practice. It's my moving meditation. So I start with Kung Fu every day for the past 8-9 years. So there's that. I also
Wow.
teach Kung Fu. So all of my direct one-on-one coaching is basically poorly disguised Kung Fu. Right? It's just, okay, if somebody were trying to punch you in the face this way, what would you do
Yeah.
about it? Well, let's talk to them. No, there's no talking, doing, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's it. So do Kung Fu. Then I make coffee for my sweetie who will be coming back from her run. soon. So then we often will have coffee together. Then I hop on the computer and send emails and do client outreach and take calls kind of all day.
Yeah.
Then late afternoon is oftentimes if I have an engagement in the evening. Most of my work is in the evening doing entertaining at kind of conferences and that kind of a thing. So the afternoons are mostly for kind of delivering that. So that's kind of my standard A day. B day is traveling, getting to the gig, setting up, doing all
Okay.
that stuff,
That's
then
what I was going
actually
to ask.
delivering. Yeah. So
Do
I
you
basically
travel?
I've got like 3 or 4 days that just repeat at different ratios, right? So my day off day, I have my deal finding day, then I have my delivering value day,
Nice.
and that's pretty much it.
That's
Yeah.
yeah. You're hitting all aspects of it. What is your favorite quote?
My favorite quote is illegitimus non carborundum, which is kind of my life motto, which loosely translates to do not be ground down nor worn away by those of illegitimate birth, which directly translates to don't let the bastards get you down.
Yeah. Don't let them.
Yep. Yep. My high school debate teacher had that on his desk. I was like, what does that mean? He was like, you figure it out. So
That's
just
funny.
did the research and I was like, okay, that's awesome.
Awesome.
And
Yeah,
that
that's
was
good.
That's a good
instantly my
response by
motto.
him too.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that crafty man, he was smart.
Yeah.
that's hilarious.
Jonathan, what are some of your hobbies?
My hobbies, playing banjo, learning Mandarin,
Wow.
doing kung fu. However, kung fu is kind of my life work. Everything else is under kung fu. So basically, I'm living my kung fu philosophy through various expressions. But that's the weirdest one. So we like to say that's just a hobby. However, that is my life's work, is to
Very cool.
develop my kung fu.
Very interesting.
Yep.
Nice. What's the best business book that you've read?
The best business book that I've read probably was Think and Grow Rich,
Okay, that's
right?
a
Because
it's
it's
the
all
usual
about
suspect on here.
it's all
Yeah.
about mindset, and it's not about your muscles and how hard you work. It's how clever can you be about leveraging the resources you already have? Because
Mm.
the universe will not give you more until you've done the most with what you can with what you already have.
Absolutely.
Amen.
And last question here. If there's one key piece of advice that you could leave our listeners with about achieving success, what do you think it would be?
Be careful how you define it, because it'll happen.
So don't put that one word or one specific, this is what is I'm going to consider when I'm successful. And
Right, because that idea of success could very easily be the prison that keeps you locked up away from the freedom you're trying to find. And
That's really good.
yeah, because for years I thought, well, I'm a full-time entertainer. I don't have a job. I'm not in the corporate world.
Mhm.
And that's when I was the most poor. My car got repossessed twice, got divorced, basically was living a country song. And
Oh,
it
wow.
wasn't until I got my head out of my ass and then was like, okay, what are the most effective ways for me to provide value to the market? Okay, here we
Right.
go.
Ah,
Right. But it was that belief that I'm a performer, not a business consultant. I'm a performer, that kept me from being able to provide the most value to the most people the best way. So
Wow.
that idea of success, of being a full-time performer, was actually my living hell, and it was the thing that destroyed my life.
So yeah, wow. So just don't throw the labels on it. Don't.
Be careful what you ask for, you'll
Right.
get it. Right? It's
Very
that
That's
true.
good.
old curse, right?
Very
Yeah.
true.
Ask and you shall receive.
Yeah. May you get what you want. Like,
Awesome.
oof, that's brutal.
Yeah,
that
that
is the
is.
worst curse I could think of.
That's so true.
So, Jonathan, we're wrapping things up here a little bit, but I know you have a book out there. I want you to talk about that a little bit and
Yeah.
promote yourself at this point.
Well, thank you. Basically, the book that's most applicable to most people is what I wrote called "Think Like a Mind Reader," which is basically taking all those psychology principles that I leverage on stage to create impossible things to happen. I've crammed 25 years worth of experience into 261 pages. So it deals with fundamental human psychology as expressed in confidence and memory and motivation and basically every aspect of your mindset that could affect how your life is going. We deal with it. So I've put all that into one book so that way I can help as many people as possible reframe their thinking and experience so that I don't have to actually be there in person to do it, right? So Think Like a Mind Reader is the one that will be the most accessible to the most people. If you want the hardest hitting one, I wrote a book called Wing Chun Life Physics, which is basically my Kung Fu book that comes to the same conclusions, but by way of physical physics as expressed through the human pattern. First in the body, then the mind, emotions, and energy, right? So you kind of deal with it from physical to abstract or abstract manifesting in physical form. So Think Like a Mind Reader is mindset to body. Kung Fu is body to mindset. So it's kind of both sides of the equation.
Nice.
So
where can people find those?
Amazon is the easiest way. Just search for those or find me on Twitter, which is _Pritchard. And there you'll be able to find anything and everything that I do. My websites are kind of the curated experience to communicate to clients. Twitter is kind of like if you were secretly in the back seat of the car listening to me just say the weirdest shit that comes to my head. So to get the undoctored, unfiltered, direct, here's what he's thinking about right now, go to Twitter.
Awesome. Well, Jonathan, we appreciate you being out on the show. Any other ways our listeners can get in contact with you or you already mentioned?
Absolutely. If you just want to follow the party, Twitter's the best. If you want to check out kind of my consulting group and then the different companies that owns, go to hellstromgroup.com. That's a play on words of a mentalist from the 1800s. So there's a whole story behind that, but we don't have time for it. So Hellstrom, HELLSTROM group.com. So that's kind of the hub that everything else spokes out from.
All right.
Very cool. Jonathan, we do appreciate your time on here. And I like I said, I could talk to you for hours and about what you do and the influence that you have. But again, for our listeners, don't forget, follow us on Facebook and subscribe to the show so that you don't miss these awesome interviews every single day. We're putting these shows out here. So again, Jonathan, we appreciate your time and joining us today.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to connect with your audience. I deeply appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Daily Wealth Junkie Show, brought to you by CEO Capital Partners. CEO Capital Partners works with business owners and executives to build passive income through multifamily apartment syndications. For more information about how you can invest in quality multifamily real estate assets and build significant streams of passive income, visit us today at ceocapitalpartners.com.